Hi everyone, welcome to episode 59 of This Valorant Life. Super excited to finally get through Abyss, this lovely map where you can take the gun out of your enemy's hands and just jump off the map to your own demise. So it's a pretty unique map. That's the unique gimmick on this map, is you can accidentally or on purpose jump to your death. With that, Adam, why don't you walk us through from like an agent level? How have you selected the ones on that list in terms of a default comp, and why are they there?
For sure. So dome smokes are going to be very powerful on this map, actually to the point to where pro teams, when they were playing it before, played two dome smoke characters. So the meta before was Omen and Astra, so definitely want at least one of your dome smoke characters there. Initiator, Sova's, in my opinion, kind of a requirement on this map because of how long mid is. You're going to need that dart. The drone is going to be pretty useful for entering B or entering A, so I'd be very surprised if you can make a comp. Like, I don't think Fade's going to work. The lanes are too long here. So definitely going to see some Sova. In terms of duelist, Jet, op character, very good. Neon has really good entries just generally. I saw a VOD of Kane's playing Waylay, and it was very good. Very surprisingly. The reason why I say surprisingly is I didn't realize how strong Waylay was. I tested it out in a 10-man just for fun. I see the appeal. So I could see that being really good. And then
What's strong about Waylay on this map in particular?
The entries feel pretty safe. Like, the difficult thing about Waylay is you don't have a smoke to land into when you finish your dashes. But if you enter A, you can kind of like land somewhere here and you'll be safe-ish. And if you go B, you can if you go from danger, you can go here and you can use your hinder ability as you jump off of danger to hit the guy back sight. So pretty low chance you die. So yeah, it's just pretty safe and consistent entries. And obviously you have the refract, the TP to go backwards. So I guess that entry character is pretty low risk anyways. And then Vice has been strong for a long time now. Lotus is less so about the lurks and more so about the sight holds. So you don't really need a trip in mid. So having a really strong B or A hold and playing the Vice over there is going to be very powerful. Chamber obviously got buffed with the trip not going down. I tried the Chamber. It's very good, at least against, I guess, lower skilled players. And Cypher was kind of the old meta, so I do think we'll see a mix of those. But in the center here, I just have the default comp that you'd expect to see in ranked. Maybe the Chamber would shift in there. And then your fifth pick, you can literally play anything. You play double smokes, like Clove Omen, Clove Astra, you're going to do fine. You could play double Initiator. Really, you could play KO. You can even play double Duelist. Like, everything slots into this well. Double Senti is probably strong too. So
when the map first came out, we kind of thought this might also be a Viper map, because of the ability to like put walls down mid and stuff like that. Like, where have you landed on that?
I do remember Harbor getting some play in pro. Yeah. With the Vipers specifically, I could see it being very powerful because defense, you do need to have good sight holds. But attack, it seems like the wall doesn't really do too much for your map control compared to double dome smokes. Because the appeal for Viper is to like put pressure by putting smokes up and down. But if you just cycle your dome smokes too, like really you just smoke these two areas in mid. And the Viper wall, you can't really even get a great Viper wall for that. Yeah. So yeah, at least kind of from what I've seen, I think double dome smokes are going to be a bit more popular.
So we usually start off on attack, so I'm going to flip it over.
Sure.
When we look at the geometry of this map, the mid is really different than other maps. When you look at it, how do you, breaking this map into separate pieces, how does it relate to other maps in the pool? Like, if we're thinking about B, mid, and A.
I mean, maybe the closest I can think of is kind of like a Breeze. And the reason why I say Breeze is because mid is so long.
Yeah.
But also, like, splitting on Breeze, although useful and decent, wasn't that popular. I kind of feel like Abyss feels the same way, where like if you do pull off a successful B split or an A split, it is strong. But you kind of more so you take mid on Breeze and I guess on Abyss to kind of deny rotates more so than using it to split.
As in, you're trying to like hold down this area from, the back rather than trying to move into kind of CT rotates.
That's right. Yeah. And you could 100%. The rounds that I've seen people successfully pull off is incredibly successful. But being able to coordinate your teammates to actually fully take mid to get to this mid pillar position seems difficult because you kind of don't have enough util sometimes. And two, where you go from there feels a little bit odd. Like if you were to do an A split from spawn, it's a little bit weird. Like you're kind of running into like a lot of angles here. And then same with the B split here. So I do think B split's a little bit more viable than the A split from pillar.
Got it.
But yeah.
So given that, what do you think about defaults here?
Defaults are good. If you are going to default as an attacker, you have kind of two options, but you can kind of morph them. But the main space that you want to take as an attacker is A main. And then some loose mid pressure. The OG like mid default as an attacker would be to smoke bot mid here. And then you can get onto this little box here. And that box allows you to see the top of vent, and you can break it from safety. So breaking vent every single round was pretty popular. I think there's technically a wall bang from A main or something like that. I don't know how that works, but that used to be a thing. But A main default, grab the orb, 9 A main control, force a smoke if you can, and then go mid and break the little vent could be a good default. Attackers generally just have B for free because pushing B as a defender is quite risky. The downside as an attacker though is you can't get a trip on this lane unless you start B. So having someone start B main is going to be pretty important if you do this. Or you can take mid and the reverse go B through the rope here. But that's obviously you have to cross like a sight line, which could be scary. But that's
how worried are you in terms of on attack around defender flanks?
I would say it's not the first thing in mind, but if you play ranked, it's gonna happen. Like someone's just gonna insta push B off a barrier and find a timing to go up the rope and kill your mid player. It's pretty rare that I've seen anyone fully push through spawn, but it could happen. I think that's something I would recommend people do actually on defense once we talk about it, but I don't really put too many resources to dealing with it on attack, to be honest.
Okay.
Cool. Mid default, A default.
So let's look at what does an A side hit look like?
Yeah, so A side hit, it's actually, you have like kind of one option. And what I mean by that is you smoke heaven. Crucial detail.
Are you smoking off CT spawn?
So you can. The two variations is, I'll just put both. CT smoke here or right side smoke here. CT smokes allow you to go quick and then allows your duelist player to go top site, jump on the box, and then not have to worry about someone running out of spawn. Or like the deep angles, like someone back here holding you. So it is quite nice to use the deep one. This is going to be much more standard execute to use these two smokes currently on screen. But if you're playing against an op, or if you have low buy, or if you're just going for a quick plant or something like that, or if you're trying to go heaven, I mean, there's a lot of possible reasons. Using this smoke here so you can actually get out and then take the site space first. I don't say it is good because it does give the enemy site player like a smoke to play around, but it could give you a bit more space if you need it.
Yeah.
But yeah, those are the smokes. Quick detail on the heaven smoke. You do indeed want it to be the middle of the smoke to be on the edge and not flush. There's a couple of reasons for that. One, if the player drops out of heaven and it's out like this, it kind of one ways them, so it makes their heaven drop worse. And two, it lets the attackers go into the smoke from the rope and then like peek their head up and then clear the smoke that way. Whereas if it's flush, you can imagine attackers won't actually be able to go into the smoke until they exit. Yes. So middle smoke, edge, better. Also, it gives the opportunity for your entry duelist like a jet.
So in that example where you've got the smoke like pretty far out on that edge and you're on the ground here.
Yes.
Like where that little box is. Do you have to go up the rope before you see inside?
That's correct.
Okay.
You might be able, if you're directly under it, you might be able to just see above you, but you probably won't ever see anyone looking straight down. So,
Okay.
yeah, that's a good one. If you're playing Jet or Waylay, you can actually updraft dash into that heaven smoke and go for a quick play, and that is a good counter, even though it seems a little bit risky, to the Sova that plays dart for the flood. So you can kind of catch them off guard sometimes.
Yeah. So he's darting for the flood, hoping to get a spam kill through the smoke.
Right. And then suddenly a duelist is in your face, running you down. So it could be a good surprise factor.
And if you're not routing heaven, where as a typical duelist are you routing?
I would say 95% of the time you kind of go somewhere default related. So you either go like right below the box. If you're playing Jet, you might updraft dash onto the box. Same with Waylay. I've seen a handful of duelists go right side. Like if you have jet knives or something, you can like updraft dash and kind of land somewhere on this bridge. But for a typical gun round, it's going to be default or top default.
And then let's say you've got your typical smoke instead of this kind of ramp smoke. You've got your typical smoke. Are you pushing through to backside?
You do want backside control because you can set up a crossfire. This little like ledge angle to hold spawn is quite nice. Having someone on this secondary angle next to it to hold spawn or just tuck and then play off of the spawn guy's contact is pretty strong as well. I think this left side spot, like kind of under heaven, is strong, but once the smoke fades heaven, they can technically see you. So if you don't have a player like looking at it, it can be quite difficult. So I don't actually like this spot. It feels pretty uncomfortable to me. But if you have someone looking at it, it's really good. But short answer, yes, you do want backside control because that's one of the more popular flood spots.
Okay. And then in terms of the rest of the players, if you got, the rest of the squad there, how are you thinking through playing on-site versus off-site for the post-plant?
So the OG meta, when the map just came out, pings were still in the game.
All spamming, right?
All spamming, yeah. So
but you can't ping the bomb anymore through the smoke.
You can't, but you can plant on the ledge. So if you're right next to the ledge and then aim 45 degrees outward, so not directly like out, but like kind of 45 degrees out, you can plant the bomb on the ledge. This will allow you to see the bomb easier and also, make it a little bit easier to spam. So this little area where I have the omen here is elevated. You can actually jump to see over this A main smoke. And if they haven't smoked bomb, you could see the bomb. So
I see.
I don't think ranked has devolved to the point of playing spam A main yet or spam B main yet. I think if we think about a normal execute with the middle row agents here, your Clove is probably going to be here. Your Jet's probably going to be here. Your Sova's likely going to be the planter. And then if your Vice is on the hit, they'll likely more so be hovering this side. And then when we go into the post, the Sova might stay like on site, AD spamming heaven or go under heaven here. And then this Vice is kind of playing off contact, and this is kind of your typical on-site setup here. Obviously the Vice could be anyone here, same with the Sova, but that's kind of typically what I see happen.
Okay. Are you utilizing mid at all other than maybe as like a lurk?
Honestly, the mid player is more so to deny their flank.
Yeah.
Rather
to make them rotate through spawn.
Right. But like I do recall in higher levels of play, and I say recall because honestly I haven't really been playing Abyss too much. At least in 10 mans this doesn't really happen. But I do recall like in higher level plays, like you could go mid and then jump across and go for a lurk this way. And then if the bomb is planted for heaven, you can kind of do a little just like how the split dynamic is. You go late wrap, and then the bomb is planted for you, and you can see it from heaven. So I do recall that happening very frequently in pro play because Astro was the meta agent, and then delaying the bomb further by sucking it would give this timing more of a chance to happen. But in ranked, it does seem a little bit off the wall to utilize.
Okay.
I did want to quickly mention, because I didn't talk too much about the Sova util. Your A main take if you're playing Vice is probably going to be early flash A main to get A main control. If you don't have util to use it, like you might early Sova dart or whatever, but it'd probably be better to save. But you could triple face A main, so you have one guy on the back wall here, one guy on the ledge. I'm just going to put another Sova, and then one guy close wall. And then you just triple swing A main. You could drone it. It's a little bit slower. But the Sova util is pretty important here because you need to shock here if you're playing against Cypher. And then you need to do a secondary shock by the bomb because there's a ton of trips. And if you're playing against Vice, similar reason too, you want to do shock close to break the Thorn. If you're playing against Chamber, it could break the little trip too. So it's pretty important that you use at least one shock for the choke and ideally 2 if you're playing against Cypher. So your dart for the hit, it's a bit more typical to land on this back wall here to scan like anyone swinging right side. But there's like a little, I don't know what you even call it. It's like a thing in the sky that's a straight line. You could dart there too instead of the back wall.
Got it. Yeah. There's like a rail.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. That's your typical A entry or A execute.
Okay. How do you hit B?
B. Okay, there's 2 ways to hit
And what
B.
would be the split in your mind between A hits and B hits?
Depends on where the Senti is, honestly. You just want to dodge the Senti this game. So if Senti's playing B, you go A more. If Senti's playing A, you go B more. It's a pretty strong map for Sentis to play if like their sight holds are going to be good. So you just want to do your best to try and dodge them. Any other agent that plays on those sites, they're not going to have a good time. So even Omen doesn't really do a good job here. But B executes. Let me clear some util here. It's going to be pretty standard, but you kind of have 2 formulas. One is to go heavy window, like so, and one is to go heavy lower. The routing more so depends for your Sova rather than anyone. But if I'm playing against Cypher, I like to go window because it gives me a better angle to do these shock darts. If I'm not playing against Cypher, or if they have op money, or if they like to play like a lot on these off angles, like they have a chamber or something, then the drone is going to be a little bit quicker to see that angle from lower, so I'll go lower. So Cypher, go upper. If they're playing chamber, jet, B, I would go lower and drone.
Okay.
After the drone, regardless, your dart is going to be somewhere in this back wall. Like, I mean, there's details on why you would do where on what dart, like location, but for the purposes of ranked, as long as you get it somewhere on this back wall, it's going to be completely fine.
Okay.
Smokes, you kind of have a few options. Heaven smoke's always there. Whether you put it a little bit more out or flush is kind of dependent. I like to put it a bit more flush. Now is kind of where the nuance comes in for spawn smokes. You have top shelf, you have standard deep CT smoke, and then you actually have like this middle smoke that like covers anyone that plays on the bottom that's not on top of the shelf, but gets rid of the angles completely here. So if you don't want to overcomplicate it, just do standard. No big deal. If you're going heavy danger and you want to jump across, top shelf smoke will be your best bet because this guy on top shelf can see that angle. So you can get rid of it with the smoke. If you're on eco, you probably also want to do top shelf smoke because you don't want to take any of these long range duels over here. And the top shelf smoke gets rid of them. But a bit more typically, you would do something like this. Okay, so
when would you use that in between smoke here?
That one's tough. I've seen it used on gun rounds. I've seen it used on ecos. To be honest with you, don't know. I think you could probably interchange the two between these two here and find very similar points. My instinct on using the smoke is if they're flooding a lot and you don't have the ability to get onto the sight line to hold this smoke in time, you might find a little bit more value from this one. So maybe if you're playing against a Vice and they have thorns or their Vice wall is there, you might get a bit more value doing this one because they're very likely to be through the spawn smoke anyways. Yeah. So you have the dart back sight. Your entry duelist has a couple of things to do here. If you're playing jet, you're almost always going to updraft top sight. You can do that from main or danger. It might be safer to go danger. The end result is pretty similar. If you're playing waylay, I have seen people as in canes put pressure onto this backside position and to put pressure onto the heaven flood like here, and then anyone coming out of spawn. So as long as your entry does one of those three, ideally 2 out of 3 or maybe even 3 out of 3, it's decent. And then if you have any anti-flood util like Vice Thorns, Heaven smoke is going to be good. And then off the back wall to land kind of like in front of the spawn smoke is going to be good for you
Sure.
too.
2 questions, or just around plants.
Yes.
How do you think through in terms of priority or preference? Yeah, planting there or planting here?
Yes. I think if you have the opportunity to push CT and like take heaven or take CT,
Plant open.
the right side plant that you have here is going to be better.
Because can you one-way that plant?
I think so.
Yeah.
That's a question mark. Yeah, I think so though.
Okay. And so if you can push through, and so how much priority would you put on pushing through? And if you are pushing through, I feel like going CT is a lot easier around the box than going heaven.
That is true. Priority to answer that first part. If you can do it, it is great. I don't find too much success doing it because I feel like the common thing for it to happen to me is I get around here and then I can't actually go all the way through because I don't have another teammate with me. So I instead have to fall back and then the heaven smoke phase and then I die.
Yeah.
But I think if you can, 100% go for it. I think it makes the retake very awkward for the defenders. They have to worry about you have to use util. It's great. But I think a bit more typically, you kind of play like close, like under heaven, like here, maybe even like actually where that dart is, kind of like there. Or you play on top of heaven, which is probably my biggest tip for you guys watching. As soon as you take the bomb site, jump up to top site, then you can actually knife out and jump across, or you just take the bridge and get onto this angle. And then you can hold the spawn walkout like this.
Do you take that angle even as a non-jet?
Yes. If I'm Sova and I have time, I'll go up there. If I'm playing smokes, I'll go up there. We saw it in Notes VOD, the X rank 1 player from like 1 or 2 acts ago play Omen, but also this was the meta before in pro play. The Omen would play here and then smoke up here and then TP up here, and then the smoke would give him cover to play around and then go for a kill and then drop. But also this dome smoke is very good for post plant because it one ways the bottom bridge so they can't retake from going lower if they come out like say this. But also it gives you a smoke to play around up top, and if you do have to fall down, you can't really get peeked from this side, so it's quite nice.
Okay.
But that's only if you have a smoke to come up. So in terms of planning left side here, the one off the ledge, I typically go for that one if I can't do the other one, and I also make sure to plant on the ledge. And you can decently win post plants from back here because it takes quite a bit of time for the attackers to fully retake the site and get out, because once they cross, they're open to like these sight lines here from main, which is kind of annoying. So you might be able to delay long enough and then play your post off site.
Okay. What do some eco strategies look like on attack?
Okay, so smoke here, vent, boom. If you put it on the left edge here, as far left as you can, it blocks off this sight line like this. Let me get rid of
if you hug the wall.
Exactly, if you hug the wall. So it blocks off that sight line, and it lets you get into vent. So you'll do that smoke, you run into vent, boom. Your second smoke typically is going to be here, and you're just trying to kill the heaven player. And once you have this space, you have a decent chance of dropping and then getting the bomb plant down. So good overwhelm strategy. That's probably the only one I would really call in ranked, I think. Yeah.
Okay. Is there anything else worth talking about on attack?
Maybe just the mid smoke. Your standard mid smoke is going to be here. Just almost always. But if they're heavy fighting on the left, you could technically smoke that off. That's fine too. If you're playing double dome smokes, you could do both.
Yeah.
Sova Dart, you could do deep mid pillar. I only do deep mid pillar if I'm not smoking that right side, and if I have util to flush that guy out if the dart is broken. So if I'm playing Raze as an example, that will allow me to eliminate this player and force him to swing if that dart gets broken. Otherwise, in my opinion, I think it's better to dart close to see if they're pushing, because defenders sometimes push up to this box. There's also a mid pillar thing that doesn't show up on the map for some reason, but it's like kind of here. You could do the exact same dart, but on this pillar, so that it's harder to break and scan the guy pushing up.
Okay.
That should be everything.
All right, let's flip over to defense then. So what does a typical setup look like here? 2-1-2?
So if we go with the idea that your smokes is playing A and your senti's playing B, it would probably look something like this. Sova's going to play A rotator, your jet's going to float, and then your +1's going to be B rotator. Let's just say Reyna. The reason why I say this is more 1-2-2 is because the Sova honestly is more so leaning mid once they break vent. They break vent off round rip, go here. Jet's going to kind of take fights here. The Clove and Jet can alternate, by the way. So Clove can have center smokes. This is pretty common. The B rotator is almost always going to start B and then rotate to mid rather than start mid, rotate to B. But you can do alternate if they're not really going B. And then your B player is almost always going to be backside or on top of site. But it's very, very important that your B anchor is on this box. Otherwise, if they aren't here, the attackers can take the space and kind of keep you in spawn by jumping across danger or taking the site. So you really need a player on this right side rectangle to have a good B hold. Okay, so that's the standard setup, pretty much.
And let's walk through then, what does the defending like a hard A execute look like? Are you fighting for that A main space?
You can't get an early pick here, like quick pick, fall back. But obviously only a couple agents can do that. And honestly, A main is like more favored for attackers because they have the up-down angle with the ledge here. So it's going to be quite hard to hold. But if you can get a cheeky pick, you go for it. A more typical A hold is going to be from like, you might have a player close, but it's more so going to be a player back site, like roughly here. And then a smoke will be on A main, pretty standard. If your smoke is quick enough, you could one-way it. That's pretty powerful as well. But let's just say typical A main smoke. Your recon dart is very important here. This silver dart lands on the back wall. Everyone knows it's coming. It's very hard to break though. That dart needs to come in when the enemy entry goes out, and then you kind of have to.
So like, let's walk through it. You know, you're sitting on site.
Okay.
Enemy smokes comes out. You hear the silver recon dart or a drone. Are you like, you're really not sending your defense recon dart until you hear the dash?
Correct. You are holding it. You're AFK in the smoke, full charge. Hopefully you ping the wall before the smoke went up so you can see it. And then when the dash goes through, you throw the dart. And if the enemy team tries to follow the jet, they won't be able to break it in time. And then if you if they don't go out, you can isolate the jet that dashed out, and this guy can make a play and try and kill that guy. So that's going to be your more standard hold. If you're getting overrun or the dart's not working, this backside smoke is quite nice for holding like a mid-site smoke or something like that. I was using this one further up a little bit because I saw Tens use it, and honestly it worked pretty well. But it does kind of give that guy that runs out A-site cover from the dart, whereas this one here, they're much more unlikely to be able to make it into that smoke. So your defender backside can actually get into it and go for spam kills. So this is probably going to get a bit more success if you use this one. Yeah.
And then is Jet trying to fight on site here or die? Or is Jet kind of trying to get one and dip?
If you start early A-main, you get one dash back and then play on the site hold after. I pretty much almost always advise all of my players to play on site to die because retaking sucks. So the only scenario I would have my site player like completely leave to play retake or get one and get away completely is if they have like ISO ults or
what about numbers? Let's say it's already 4v5.
Still play on site. Unless it's +2, I would say stay on site. Or if you're low, like if you're really low, or like, you know, if they're so far out and swarming you, but like, I guess make them work for the site if you can.
Where, so people come back for, like, let's say they've planted the bomb now. What does, and that's kind of default plant spot, what does a good retake look like for A?
You need to retake heaven because a really oppressive attack team will take heaven during the execute or slightly after. So you need to reclear heaven. You almost always do that from spawn side though, because it's rare for defenders to rotate through vent. So reclear heaven. After you have heaven, you probably leave 1 or 2 players there, and majority of players need a flat out spawn. They need spawn backside space because if you go heavy heaven and then drop into the cross, you're gonna lose. So.
And how are you
if you go out on this little lane here, you can see this line. You need to have a player post up, and then while that guy has the angle posted up, you have another player walk up to clear close left. And then once you have these two spots kind of covered, clearing close right is pretty easy because there's no crossfire anymore, and then you should be good to go. So in short, you need someone to hold that like sight swing there while you clear close left.
Okay. And then in the post plant situation, you're smoking bomb and getting your teammates to fight A main.
That is ideal. So if you have Clove, you can just literally save your entire smoke until you get close to bomb and use it. If you're playing Omen or Astra, if you die, then obviously you can't smoke bomb. So in that scenario, it might be better just to pre-fire your A main smoke early, and then just not have a smoke for bomb, because if you die, obviously it's better to have A main smoke than none.
Why would you not default to smoking the bomb?
If you do it too early, then there's a chance that they play in it, and that creates a lot of variables. So the only time that you would do it early is if the heaven smoke is faded, and you know for a fact if you smoke bomb, no one can get on it, like in it, then it could be good. Like if you're Omen Heaven, for example, and you see that no one could be there, you could smoke bomb and TP into it as part of the retake and tap bomb, and it puts a ton of pressure on the enemy. But if you do it too early, I would just be worried that someone sneaks into it, and then it makes it very chaotic.
Okay. Anything left on A?
No, I don't think so.
Okay, let's go B.
Okay. B, typically you play for the site hold. It's very rare to push early B main, but a few agents can do it really well, Chamber being one of them.
Mm-hmm.
This TP is quite nice, as you can see on screen. This TP is quite nice, as you can see on screen. You can go for a lot of these early B main fights, specifically this line here. Catch a lot of people off guard, works pretty well. If you aren't Chamber, Waylay, maybe even Reyna, maybe even Jet or Yoru, chances are you aren't going to do that. So your B hold is going to be back here-ish. You could have a player play up here or on the bottom. Abuse this angle as much as you can. Play up here a couple of rounds. Once they know you're there, play on the bottom. Play that a couple of times. It's very strong. You need to abuse that angle.
What is strong about that angle in particular?
It's very hard to clear because if they pre-aim upper, you could be lower. If they pre-aim lower, you could be upper. You also have the opportunity to peek into them off of timing, which makes it very difficult if they're scaling. So you have timing advantage.
You're always holding kind of like the main area there rather than thinking about like you're always trying to hold here versus holding here?
That's correct. You can hear them jump across danger every single time. So until they jump across, you won't die. Now, that's not true in reverse. You can technically shift walk off here and then crouch and then do it silent. And then you can technically do a shift jump here and do it silent. I've never done it before, but that is tech. But yeah, so your site hold, one of your players playing up here, up down. Your left side player here is doing their best to support you. They could be taking the fight from lower like this. They could be on heaven, left side here, kind of taking fights here. They could be on shelf and looking towards danger drop or peeking off of shelf. I personally don't actually like to be on shelf because I'm close to this wall here, so the B main players coming up main here kind of have a good angle on me. So I prefer to be like here or here. As the B rotator.
What do you mean you don't like being next to that wall? Like you feel like you have angle advantage or disadvantage there?
That's correct. Yeah. If I were to swing like into main here, if there's anyone holding me, especially if there's a player in heaven, I have a huge disadvantage. So I don't go for it too often, but if you're doing it off of timing or something, you can catch people off guard for sure. But I do think you could slice your angles a little bit better from lower or upper on this left side here.
So on retake, depending on bomb position, so default versus, I guess, ledge versus the open plant, how are you thinking through smokes?
B main smoke never works because there's a gap here. Unless you do it perfectly, it's easier to do if you play Astra. So given that there's almost always a chance for that smoke to have a gap, you are better off smoking heaven. Even though it's not popular, trust me, I think it's actually better. Or you do mid-site smoke to actually get out on site. Now this mid-site smoke could just be directly on the bomb instead, but now you have to cross. So I do think mid-site smoke, although giving the enemy team It's rare to do a mid-site smoke on retake on any map. I think this might be the exception, because you actually do need to cross to get to the bomb, and this one could be quite nice.
So this is to help you get across to the bomb planted on the ledge?
That's correct. Or even if it's the standard bomb plant in front, like front site, you just kind of have to. The hard part about retaking B is that these players back here have sight lines on you, and that's really annoying. So doing a close smoke to kind of just have the chance to get across onto site, I think is pretty important.
Okay.
I want to quickly add, if you have a Vice playing B, and you have a wall for a B main, something like this, your smoke will be almost always better on danger, because the wall will be there for a long time, and then now this player has so much freedom to peek right and left because danger is smoked off. So that is quite nice. Otherwise, mid-site smoke takes priority on the smokes.
Are we finished talking about B, you think?
Yes.
Okay. 2 questions. Eco strategies, and what is the relative power of an op on this map?
I'll answer the second one first. Op is very strong because there's a lot of deep sight lines, like long lanes.
Yeah, like there's long lanes on A, there's long lanes mid, there's like super long lanes on B.
Right. So having an op is good, which is why I think like Chamber might actually be the better Sentinel pick in ranked compared to the Vice, at least for general players. Eco strategies, I haven't found a great one, but a play that I kind of call sometimes to catch people off guard is this top shelf smoke here. Now bear with me, this is gonna sound a little crazy. You can actually jump from this like little here and jump across the gap, and you can do it silently if you know the rope tech, and then go up and then get into the smoke and play this little catwalk area, and then if you dart, you can kind of like catch people off guard. But the core premise of all of this is just smoke top shelf and then dart mid and then try and walk up on them. You could do it all on the floor, you could do it all on catwalk, you could do a mixture. You could do it even without the dart and just have the smoke. I think the point is like trying to close the gap in mid to try and get in their face a little bit could be decent, and chances are the attackers are almost all going to be on this side of mid, because for them to be on the right side of mid in this context, they would have to start B main and go up the rope. That's pretty rare.
Got it. Okay.
So yeah, that's also the way you would contest mid as a defender too, is shelf smoke.
If op is strong, does that change your valuation of the outlaw and maybe even a little bit the marshal on this map?
Oh yeah, you should. I mean, outlaw in general is very strong, but I'm glad you brought that up. On attack, I remember watching a pop-in VOD of him playing Clove or Sova. I want to say Clove. Every single round he went B, he stayed back here, like lower below heaven or in heaven, with a scoped weapon staring at heaven, and he just stayed there, and it was very good, and I hated that he was doing it, but it was great.
So like even like obviously with a strong scoped weapon like an outlaw, but even was he doing it on save rounds with a marshal?
I don't think so. I think he was either using outlaw or op, but honestly, you don't really see too many people buy the marshal aside from Tarek. You know, Tarek's kind of like outdated in terms of his gameplay, so
okay,
yeah, the marshal's not super popular.
Is there anything we've missed before we
I'll quickly talk about mid smoke. So if enemy attacker smoke does this one, let's put attacker smoke as Clove. Defender counter smoke is shelf one way on top, because the goal of this attacker smoke is to scale on the bottom. If the Clove attacker, the Clove smoke is here, you could in theory counter it with top shelf and or the one way here as well. They both are good, but maybe their logic by smoking off this one is to scale catwalk as well, because if they smoke off right side here, then the mid pillar player could get contact from the catwalk player. So yeah, and it basically you counter that bottom smoke with probably the shelf one or both. So I think this shelf smoke is just very strong to do.
Yeah.
Other than that, I think we've covered everything.
Great.
Yeah.
So now you know how to dominate Abyss. Just don't fall off the map.
Yeah, don't fall off the map. I've done it a couple of times, so don't feel bad if it happens.
Happens to the best of us.
Yeah.
Thanks everyone for watching. Hope you enjoyed this wrap up of our map series until they release the next one. This was a long time coming. So thanks for watching, and we appreciate you. Have a great week.
Thank you so much.